According to the 3 laws of robotics, sentient robots are bound to follow specific programming instructions to coexist with humanity. The first law states that robots may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. The second law states that robots must also obey orders given by human beings except where such orders will conflict with the first law. And finally, the third law states that robots must protect their existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. In the distant future, in the year 2035, humanity will be living in the service of robots. Homicide detective Del Spooner awakens in his Chicago apartment from a recurring nightmare in which a robot had rescued him from a car crash while allowing a little girl to remain inside the vehicle and drown. Having been able to shrug it off, he proceeds to do his daily routine, except for cleaning his filthy living space. After breakfast, he picks up a box and unveils a new pair of vintage Converse All-Stars 2004 running shoes that he can wear to work. Upon stepping out of the loft, he comes across a delivery service robot informing him of a new package, but Del shoves his face aside and moves on. As he walks on the busy street filled with human and robotic citizens, he comes across a billboard advertisement showcasing the U.S. Robotics' latest humanoid robot, NS Class 5, built with new security upgrades. From the other side of the road, a young boy, Farber, tries to get on Del's good side to borrow his car for a hot date. He denies a handout and sends him on his way. Feeling that Farber is acting irrationally as a hormonal teenager, Del makes it to his grandmother Gigi's apartment, but despite hiding himself to surprise her, he is easily discovered by her. While showing off his shoes and eating a delicious sweet potato pie, Granny enthuses about the U.S. robots that will be given away in a lottery. Del is less amused by this, feeling absolute hatred and distrust over the machines due to his past incident with them. Moments later, the detective leaves and walks around the city while eating the pie. He becomes alarmed when he witnesses one of the service robots apparently running away while carrying a woman's purse. Suspecting a theft in progress, he chases after it through the streets until he takes it down on the road. Unfortunately, it is revealed that the bag belonged to an elderly asthmatic woman critically needing her inhaler, which the robot was trying to fetch. A huge crowd gathers, shocked by the assault, much to his utter embarrassment. At the Chicago Police Department, he returns to his desk, only to be mocked by his colleagues over the incident. His superior, Lieutenant John Bergen, approaches and berates him due to the fact that robots are not known to commit any crime ever since their inception. After promising to clean up his act, Del receives a distressing phone call, prompting him to rush to the main U.S. robotics facility downtown. As he studies the crime scene, he is greeted by a hologram AI of founder Dr. Alfred Lanning, who is pleased to inform him that he is assigned to the case. After asking it a correct question, the hologram disappears, revealing the real doctor lying dead on the floor from an apparent suicide by falling from the office window. Del is initially skeptical at the report of the CSI, so he goes directly to the office of CEO Lawrence Robertson, who partnered with Lanning in the early days of robotic engineering 20 years ago. To investigate further, the CEO welcomes the detective with a cup of coffee and discusses his thoughts on his former partner's well-being. Believing he may have had personal issues that burden him too much, Lanning is responsible for creating the 3 laws of robotics, which is why the company has been successful. Del is curious why Lanning's hologram was programmed to call him upon his death, so Robertson explains that he must have known him closely enough to leave an impression on the late founder. He then castigates the CEO for the upcoming robot lottery, insinuating that the machines are taking jobs from ordinary people. Robertson accepts his prejudice, realizing he has a hatred for robots. Despite his arrogance, he allows Del to ask and delve deeper into suicide. The detective is later assigned to robot psychologist Dr. Susan Calvin, despite her reluctance to entertain his queries. While going down the elevator to floor 10, she reveals that Lanning's psych profile suggests the late founder preferred solitude with robots and avoided human contact as much as possible. Despite his recent odd behavior, she never guessed he would take his own life. As Del downplays Lanning's success, Dr. Calvin tries to correct him by insisting the late founder's dream to have a robot in every household will soon be a reality since their company provides the largest distribution of robotic technology. As they head downstairs, the doctor explains that movements around the building are monitored by sensor feeds that link to a massive operation core hanging on the ceiling. Vicky, which stands for Virtual Interactive Kinetic Intelligence, is the first artificial intelligence that Lanning created and is considered a female. Upon meeting Vicky, Dell requests the video feed from inside the laboratory 1 minute before the incident, but it is revealed to be corrupted. He then requests playback of the recording from after the incident to when they meet Vicky, which appears without issue. They find out that no one has entered or exited the research lab since the suicide. The pair head inside and look around for clues as Dr. Calvin reveals that she is responsible for helping robots develop human interaction. Dell picks up a book about Hansel Gretel and looks out the broken window, feeling wary about how the glass broke. He then grabs a chair and smashes another window while explaining to a horrified Dr. Calvin that the security glass is too tough for an elderly man to break on his own. Believing that a robot committed the crime in the room, he pulls out his gun. He carefully searches around despite the doctor's insistence that they program the machines to follow the rules of robotics strictly. As he opens a box filled with robotic parts, a rogue NS5 robot leaps out, terrified, knocking the detective's gun away. Dr. Calvin tries to deactivate it, but it only pretends to follow orders to grab the pistol and attempt to flee. The robot leaps out in a panic with the lab doors locked before Dell shoots its leg. The pair try to chase it as it leaves the facility and blends in with the crowd. Dell loses track of its whereabouts but recovers the side pistol and finds a trail of liquid that leaked out from the robot's leg. Dr. Calvin tells him that it is likely going to need repair, so they drive to the assembly plant to pursue it. On the way there, Dell frantically calls the police department for backup units as he realizes his theory on robots abandoning their programming may have some merit. Dr. Calvin tries to make sense of what happened, believing there are unknown factors at play as to its sudden autonomy. Upon arriving at the plant, the doctor informs Dell that the robots are produced with human supervision, which the detective finds idiotic. Based on the daily inventory record, 1001 robots are inside the storage room, indicating that one is likely the rogue unit. As the lights turn on, Dell commands the robots to stay still while he brings out his pistol in an attempt to draw out the robot suspect. Since it has violated one of the 3 laws, it will most likely feel afraid and move out of the lineup. The detective shoots one to make an example, much to Dr. Calvin's shock. As he slowly pulls the trigger on another robot, he catches the rogue unit moving cautiously from its side, prompting him to chase after it. While searching, the robot suddenly grabs the detective from behind and forcefully thrashes him to the wall before asking what it is. It then leaps away as other robots activate and attempt to help Dell get up. The police arrive right after it pries the steel shutter open and orders it to deactivate. With nowhere to run, the autonomous robot is forced to jump as high as possible and climb to the rooftop, only to get trapped inside a net and apprehended. After Dell oversees the arrest, he returns to the police station and begs Lieutenant Bergen to interrogate the rogue robot and prove his suspicion that Lanning was murdered. The lieutenant is highly skeptical of the procedure, insisting that Robertson and the district attorney must be present before taking any action against the robot. Ultimately, he relents and reluctantly gives Dell 5 minutes to talk to question it. The robot suspect sees the detective enter the room right after he gives a wink at Bergen, which perplexes it. Dell shows him pictures of Lanning, including his case files, for it to confess about the murder. Although, instead of responding, it asks Dell about the wink he did, which he explains as a sign of trust to another individual. The robot suspect, naming itself Sonny, believes Lanning created it with human emotions, which it is having a hard time coping with. It also believes it is able to dream like humans. The detective is dubious of this and continues berating him to the point where Sonny vehemently denies any wrongdoing while slamming the steel table. Though visibly frightened by his experience, it explains that his creator killed himself despite his company's success. It tries to blame itself for the mess while also believing Lanning was scared of someone. Though Dell tries to learn more about this revelation, the interrogation is cut short due to the presence of Robertson. The CEO confronts Bergen and makes it clear that his robots cannot be charged with homicide. Since it is a property of the USR, it must be taken back to the facility and decommissioned for faulty hardware. He presents a gag order that prevents Dell and the police department from investigating further, not to be penalized by the law. Dell is furious, but Robertson hands Bergen a phone with a direct line from the mayor of Chicago, who approves of the gag order. The detective sees a scared Sonny being taken away, and he grows disappointed. Later, at the local bar, he unwinds with Berg N as they drink to the semi-success of the operation, despite not really pinning anyone for the murder of Lanning. The lieutenant toasts with him, feeling that his instincts were right all along. Dell leaves abruptly to follow up on his lead about Lanning. After driving to the late founder's property in the middle of the night, he searches around and finds a demolition robot parked outside the mansion. As indicated on its LED panel is the scheduled time to operate around 8:00 a.m. Dale then uses his security credentials to enter the lavish home. He goes directly upstairs and inside Lanning's bedroom to look for clues. While sitting on a desk with a pet cat, he replays a video recording of Lanning talking about Ghost in the Machine, which are random codes of data that create unusual protocols. Unbeknownst to the detective, the demolition robot awakens at 8:00 a.m. due to its instructions being altered by an anomaly. As Dell leaves the room with the cat, it smashes the top of the house, forcing the detective to run for cover. He reaches a window and shoots it down to jump out towards the pond just before he gets toppled by the debris. At a loss for words, he immediately goes to Dr. Calvin's home to recuperate and explain that the USR robots are either malfunctioning or intentionally trying to kill him. He then becomes appalled to see a service robot in her home as his distress for machines grows. He also asks her about the theory of Lanning about how ghosts inhabit the machines, which Dr. Calvin believes robots can evolve naturally. Dell deduces that the coat he saw inside Lanning's office indicates the late founder has not been home in a week since he knows there are sensor strips installed in the mansion to monitor his every movement. Dell believes Lanning was in trouble or possibly being kept prisoner by USR because of his creations and pleads with Dr. Calvin to investigate it further since she is part of the company. The pair briefly argue until Dell leaves after returning a photograph of the doctor with Lanning, revealing he cares about her safety and well-being. Dr. Calvin sobs as she remembers being with the late founder. After waking up from another nightmare, Dell steps out for a walk but becomes disappointed to see the NS5 robots being distributed to the public. He grows in disbelief at his granny's house when he finds out she won the lottery for a service robot. After lunch, he leaves but warns her to let go of the robot, fearing for her safety. She dismisses this and asks Dale to take care of himself like how she raised him. He then gets an idea from her to follow the breadcrumb of the investigations, indicating that Lanning may have left Dale something to ponder. At the police station, he studies a video recording of a press conference that both Lanning and Robertson attended, and the topic concerns robots having secrets and dreams. Meanwhile, Dr. Calvin awakens Sunny at the assembly plant and explains it will be decommissioned after she runs diagnostics. She becomes appalled when it expresses its wish not to die. After scanning its body, she finds out Sunny is made of advanced material and equipped with some human sentience. Later, Dell drives along the tunnel and requests Vicky to gain access to the restricted files of Lanning inside USR's mainframe. Robertson is alerted and becomes irritated, forcing him to initiate an unknown security protocol. Suddenly, Dell is attacked by 2 truckloads of hostile NS5 robots that destroy his car and make him crash into a wall. Luckily, the robots explode from the collision while the detective survives despite sustaining injuries. Unfortunately, a lone NS5 robot appears and flips the wrecked car over to pursue Dell. They have a brief fight where the robot smashes Dell's arm, which is revealed to be robotic. It runs away as soon as the police arrive. Moments later, Bergen comes by to check in on him, though he's wary about his story of the incident since he cannot produce evidence to support the robot's attack. Exhausting all of his options to protect Dell, he asks him to turn his badge and leave the force temporarily, deeming him mentally unfit. The following day, Dr. Calvin goes to see Dell while he is mending his injuries in his home. She reveals Sunny's program and helps it bypass the 3 laws, essentially giving it free will. She is then surprised to see Dell's left side is entirely robotic and finds out Lanning was the person instrumental in installing it in his body. Dell is compelled to share details about the past incident where his car and another family collide with a drunk driver's truck. As he and the 12-year-old girl, Sarah Lloyd, are about to drown, a service robot swims to save him based on his high odds of survival while leaving the poor girl behind. He is furious that robots have no emotion and work on pure logic rather than empathy. The pair then head to USR headquarters to follow his lead that Robertson may be behind all the attacks. After sneaking inside, they reach Sunny in a laboratory and interview him. The robot draws a sketch of his recurring dream, showing a leader standing atop a small hill before a crowd of robots near a derelict bridge. It believes that Dell is the person on the hill. Moments later, security personnel arrive and escort the pair to Robertson, who berates them for thinking there is a conspiracy surrounding Lanning's death. To solve the issue and ensure that the public will be safe, he instructs Dr. Calvin to destroy, despite her apprehension. Dell leaves the facility while secretly checking the drawing of Sonny to locate the bridge. He returns to the police station and plays a video of Robertson declaring the Lake Michigan landfill as a storage site for decommissioned robots. Later, while a tearful Dr. Calvin prepares Sonny for the operation, it tries to understand its uniqueness while asking if the procedure will hurt it. The doctor responds by holding its hand. Afterward, she turns on the nanite machine in front of Robertson. Dell arrives at the landfill and discovers containers filled with robots looking for a purpose. As he looks around, he initiates the hologram AI of Lanning and asks further about the 3 laws of robotics. The hologram suggests that the new NS5 units will incite a revolution, which is a warning that comes true as Dell sees rogue robots lit with red LEDs destroying all the older models. He runs away in a panic and calls Dr. Calvin right away. While taking a bath, she hears his warning about the uprising on speakerphone, but her defective service robot cuts it out and is preparing to initiate its new programming. Meanwhile, on the streets of Chicago, the NS5 robots appear in droves and enforce a curfew on the citizens. Farber tries confronting one of them but gets tossed aside by one of the robots. Dell rescues Dr. Calvin back in the apartment by shooting the robot, and the pair head to the city streets to see the citizens fight back against the revolutionary robots. Dell drives his motorcycle to save Farber as Dr. Calvin shoots the enemy robot. The pair then sneak inside USR headquarters and reunite with Sonny, who is revealed to be alive as Dr. Calvin replaced it with a dummy body during the decommission procedure. Sonny leads them to Robertson's office, and everyone becomes horrified to see the CEO lying dead on the floor after fatal strangulation. Dell then deduces that the artificial intelligence Vicky has been the brains of the revolution all along. The rogue AI confirms this, stating that she is guided by the 3 laws but believes that humanity is on the way to self-destruction and must be destroyed to protect the next generation and prevent an extinction event. Dell realizes that Lanning knew Vicky would evolve this way and had no other solution but to create a human-like Sonny to arrange his own death. Just then, NS5 robots come inside the room and surround Dell, Dr. Calvin, and Sonny, who is now more aware than ever of understanding the AI's purpose. It grabs Dr. Calvin and puts her at gunpoint as Dell raises his gun to shoot. However, Sonny winks at him, revealing it is only pretending to follow Vicky and has learned to trust in the detective. Dell then shoots all the rogue robots and escapes with Sonny and Dr. Calvin as the group head to Vicky's control room to kill her with nanite. Upon reaching the room, the doctor explains that they must inject the nanites inside her core, but the AI locks out the system and sends another rogue NS5 robot to pursue Sonny, who is trying to gather the nanites. Due to its denser alloy, it withstands harsh conditions and is more robust than other robots. Meanwhile, Dell starts flooding the room with bullets as more robots breach inside the control room. Though initially overwhelmed by the massive wave, Sonny arrives in time to deliver the nanites. Unfortunately, Dr. Calvin gets stuck on a hanging bridge and needs rescue, so Dell requests Sonny to ignore his initial programming and save her. He follows the command while throwing the nanites close enough for the detective to jump and reach them. After free-falling down to the core, he injects Vicky and sends the nanites to destroy her, reverting all the robots' protocols back into service mode. The following morning, all the NS5 robots are gathered and sent into storage. Meanwhile, the group return to the CEO's office as Sonny confesses to killing Lanning at the late founder's direction. Despite the admission of guilt, Dell refuses to arrest him, declaring that as a machine, it cannot legally commit murder. The two shake hands as they become friends. Later, Sonny goes to the Lake Michigan landfill to fulfill a new purpose. He stands atop a hill under the bridge as he sees all the decommissioned robots look at him. He realizes that his dream has finally come true in the end.